Welcome back and thanks for staying with us here on Daytime Update. Now, the number of South Africans who've experienced violent crime in the past 5 years has increased. Statistician-General Risenga Maluleke has just released the Victims of Crime survey in Pretoria, and our reporter Ziniko Mhlaba is there with him. Some staggering numbers. Good afternoon, Ziniko. Those experiencing just one category, housebreaking, increasing 12% from the previous year.
That's right, Michelle. And actually, it was very shocking if you compare it to the results of the previous report, which was 2022-2023. So at this point, we understand that when it comes to issues of violent crimes in South Africa, the numbers are increasing, as you said. But also, how South Africans generally are responding, also feeling about crime in South Africa is concerning as far as Stats SA is concerned, especially when it comes to the safety of women in South Africa and looking at how they're related to criminal activities in their communities compared to their male counterparts. So to give us more clarity on whether the Stats SA as an institution is concerned about these developments, if there's any movement from authorities in terms of trying to use this information decisively to eradicate crime within our communities. I'm joined now by the man himself who was delivering these statistics, who also has the responsibility of engaging with lawmakers in terms of sharing these data with them. The Statistician-General, thank you very much, sir, for your time. This is not the first time you're tabling this report. And of course, this is definitely, one of those things where we'll say, well, we're going to get statistics, we're going to get these numbers. What do we do with them going forward? But what I want to ask is the issue, especially when it comes to women, especially in terms of murder cases and sexual offenses. What kind of help do you leave these victims with, or survivors of these incidents with, in terms of maybe support besides psychologically? But are there any recommendations that Stats SA does recommend to authorities, and do you have any power to ensure that those recommendations are acted on?
Let me indicate to you that the space of policy or program implementation is not ours. And indeed, our job is not to make recommendations. We only make sure that the numbers are available to stakeholders, including government, including political leaders, business leaders, members of the community, so that engagement can occur and take place going forward. Because if we start then making recommendations, if what we have recommended doesn't sustain in the future as solutions, we will shy away from making numbers available and we'll have lost our independence. So we have to remain independent. And I know it's a very emotive and emotional matter to say we're dealing with crimes, some of them being violent crimes, but we say we don't get involved in the implementation. It's because the law doesn't allow us to get into that space.
I mean, you're dealing with crime and sensitive cases. You're talking about rape, you're talking about murder. Talk to us about the capacity of your staff members who go on the ground, on the field, to engage with people in terms of training. Are they specially trained to handle such matters with the sensitive care that's required? But also the samples, I know that they were explained. So what are you looking at now in terms of increasing beyond 30? And it was also revealed here that over 30,000, you are considering increasing the number of the people you're going to sample.
In terms of the number of dwelling units, we go to 30,000 dwelling units, and indeed we elevate that to a national level. But in terms of increasing, I cannot promise here that we'll increase the sample size because it is a question of financial resources being available or made available to us. But in terms of training to our staff members, there's a battery of cases that we put in place, not necessarily cases as in reported cases, but measures that we put in place. One is we train our field workers, but we also send a publicity team that talks to members of the public. They go arrive at the traditional leader's place, they arrive at the councillor's place, they talk to the police in the neighborhood, that they would be talking to members of the public. So in this regard, we prepare members of the public to assist us when we reach out to them, and also make sure that we are able to engage as many members of the public. As you know, that we talk to people that are 16 years and older. At an individual level, we do talk to individuals on their own, because especially in the case where you find the perpetrators are persons that are known to the victim, or they happen to be in the same household or dwelling unit, there are such sensitivities that we take into account. But let me indicate that in our case, our job is to measure. And I know how much emotional this can be, but our job is to measure, and we have to make sure that South Africans know at all the time.
You play a very critical role in terms of collecting and compiling information for the country. I mean, there has been criticism towards the institution itself. Are you concerned about the credibility of Statistics South Africa currently? And what do you think, is behind the questionability of the credibility of Statistics?
I will not talk to the reasons behind. I think, Ziniko, you are much...
What are you finding out? What do you think is behind those?
I measure, I don't think. I measure and confirm. So I haven't gone out to measure what the reasons are. But one thing I can tell you, those that are raising issues are within their remits to explain their reasons. But one thing that I can assure you at all times is that our statistics, official statistics, are supposed to be a point of debate in society. And debate is not just praising us. There are times when members of the public will raise issues, and users will come from different sectors. In our case, users are equal. Whether it's a gogo in the village or a professor, they are equal. And when they raise issues, we take them seriously. We explain ourselves and explain to even beyond those that are raising issues. So to assure you and to assure members of the public, the numbers of stats SA, particularly census figures, stand solid as we have made them public in October last year. Of course, we're going to go forward, releasing other products going forward. As we do so, when you go to lower levels, we'll have to make considerations as to how far we can go, especially in the face of a high undercount that we have faced during Census 2022.
Thank you very much, Actually, let me release you.
Thank you indeed.
Thank you, sir. Michelle, that's Statistician-General Mr. Risenga Maluleke, just giving us a sense of some of the information that they gather, whether, indeed it is trustworthy information. Remember that in the past few days, there have been some calls when it comes to questioning the credibility of the institution. But as Mr. Maluleke is saying that, well, as far as the information is concerned, is something you're very confident of. It will also be interesting then, Michelle, to see how this information, especially when it comes to sensitive matters, is taken up by those who have the powers and the responsibility of ensuring that such matters are addressed within the reasonable time, especially when it comes to aged matters such as victims of crime, domestic violence, murders, but also those issues relating to sexual offences.